Can lobbying be viewed as an alternative to litigation? I think so. When attorneys are being taught in law school and when you practice law, litigation is finding the law as it is and its application to particular facts in a case and how the law, in theory, decides the dispute. But how about a different approach? What about changing the law to help your client resolve his or her dispute? I think there are three possible ways to change the law through litigation and have an appellate court decision perhaps interpret the law differently. The second one is to lobby the legislative branch for a change in statute or the executive branch for a change in a regulation. And of course, the third opportunity to change the law is through direct democracy, either with a initiative constitutional amendment or with an initiative statute. And of course, you could also overturn an enacted statute through a referendum. Now, these latter two approaches might also be used as a point of leverage in potential litigation and resolving it. But in other words, does the threat of changing the law perhaps create a resolution of the underlying litigation or legal dispute? Now, there's the legislative route, the regulatory route, or of course, direct democracy. Now, in many ways, legislative and regulatory lobbying are much the same. In legislative lobbying, you're lobbying the legislative branch of state government for or against a bill, and in regulatory lobbying, you're lobbying the executive branch for or against a regulation. But you might want to think about undertaking a lobbying effort to change the law based upon who your client is, the timing, how easily that is done, if there are likely allies, maybe not difficult opponents, to be aware of some of those things. And it probably makes sense, of course, if it's a high stakes issue to have a lobbyist involved. But I think the important point to consider is that perhaps the best advice for your client is not being stuck with the way you have found the law. That is how it's currently written in statute or in a regulation. Perhaps you might be able to change that statute or that regulation in a favorable manner that'll benefit your client, which is why you might think about lobbying as an alternative to litigation.